Personal assessment system refers to a fictional or speculative system used for gathering and analyzing data, including consciousness and biometrics. Does this mean that they, Elon, are using looking glass tech to predict possible outcomes once they feed and inject a particular narrative triggering the 100 monkey phenomena? Hello, Truth Seekers. So a few days ago, I posted this video titled Jerome Powell Won't Be Fired Till He Meets His Sandman. This led to a response by an account who goes by Major Cognition, who took a screenshot from the video. The screenshot was of audio produced by a potentially military contacted individual whom I've also had the pleasure of joking with concerning if he's a white hat or a black hat. She took the data from the screenshot, plugged it into Grok, and got this fascinating response that expands on concepts that are in the screenshot. She asks, wondering if AI can influence remote viewing. Grok, the text you provided seems to describe a speculative or fictional scenario involving personal data collection and its use in an interactive system. Here's a breakdown based on the common themes and terms. And so consciousness and biometrics is derived from there, the personal assessment system derived, the BAS, biometric authentication system, remote viewing phenomenon, astral projection, Elon and communication with PATs. Here, Elon might be referring to Elon Musk given his involvement with AI and technology, but in this context, it could be part of a fictional narrative. Very fascinating stuff. Major Cognition responds, the personal assessment system refers to a fictional or speculative system used for gathering and analyzing data, including consciousness and biometrics. Does this mean that they, Elon, are using looking glass tech to predict possible outcomes once they feed and inject a particular narrative triggering the 100 monkey phenomena? OMG, it is real. Okay, so if Elon's simulation theory is true, it also means that he can manipulate the programs. This is exactly what LSD, be careful on YouTube, and the other term, not all at the same time, showed me. It told me to go back and level up my software. Nice. There's this mysterious holy holly individual. There's DJ Shadowmind and many others. Later in this video, I'll play for you the full audio that provides context for PAS. A couple of days ago, I was listening to the No Agenda show, and something fascinating was shown to me in this episode. From the transcript, starting at 32:35, one of the co-hosts, Adam Curry, states, I'm remembering what happened before this election. I want to call out a couple of culture war economy fearmongers for their bullcrap. Sigh, you put people through my neighbors. I said a couple people I want to call you out. Not you, them. I'm calling them out. I'll play this segment for you.
So the people I'm about to name, I'm calling you out. That's not you, John. Culture war economy fearmongers who did this for attention, for views, for clickbait revenue generators, and I'm going to say it was the grid's going down. We're going to be under martial law, military-aged Chinese men forming an army. We're going to have blue helmets, UN forces, Venezuelan gangs with orders to shoot law enforcement. What?
Hold on. I was actually, instead of doing the bit I did at the beginning of the show about leaving the country, that was the one I was going to bring up, which was, and I actually kind of forgot it until you just brought it up. Yes.
Well, let me give you a list of people, because I've kept track of people who were propagating this over and over and over again.
They should be called out. This is ridiculous.
Dan Bongino, Tim Pool, Sean Ryan, Alex Jones, Patrick Bet-David, Mike Benz, my neighbor Laura, Phil Waldron, Clayton and Natalie Morris, Monkey Werx, Colonel McGregor. Oh yeah, haven't forgotten Colonel McGregor.
I don't think we'll ever get to the 2024 election. I think things are going to implode in Washington before then.
Okay, thank you. General Flynn is on my list. Scott Ritter. And of course, everyone's favorite, Naomi Wolf.
I know that we're going to see, and they're signaling it, we're not going to have an accurate count of the election. Almost all the battleground states, if not all of them, have signaled that it's going to be 4 days. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to say it's going to be 4 days. It's going to be 5 days. It's going to be 6 days. It's going to be 2 weeks. We don't have an accurate count. Oh no, we have no electricity. We can't count the ballots. They're electronic machines, right? The electricity is down. I mean, we are this close to that. And then
Now, the only one I'll give I'll give Laura a little bit of grace. I'll give Naomi Wolf some grace on this because of their former defense intelligence spouses. But I just want us to be aware that they will continue to do this. And when I say they, it's military.
Yeah, you got the right, you have the laundry list, you have the usual suspects. That list is the list.
And there's probably a few I've forgotten. But and even the
Adam later.
what's the guy's name? Phil Waldron. He was fear-mongering to like a group of 100 pastors that this was going to happen. Make sure your churches have food and water. And this is a military psyop, and I think this is where Q comes from. All of this stuff, in order to, because when you have fear, and a lot of women here were very, very fearful. And you know, they're on text groups, and Tina's in an apartment, and I tell her, text them, has the grid gone down yet? To get a laugh, you know, just to loosen them up. And so I'm not mad at them. I'm not really mad at Naomi or Laura Logan, because I know that they're getting it, and it's coming from the military or the military-industrial complex. It's military intelligence induced, and they're doing it to put the fear into you. And in this case, it was vote Trump. You know, and it'll be something else in the future. They will continue to do this. The Chinese are in. You know, they're buying up all the land next to the bases. They're flying drones everywhere. They're doing this to invoke fear. And then when you're fearful, then whatever message they give you, and it's always packed in there,
sticks.
Yes, and you're going to follow orders.
And so I realized that over these last 4 years during the Biden administration, I had been somewhat skeptically following these public figures and then receiving comms from other mysterious anonymous figures, presumably connected to the same military power. I mean, just think about this with Rachel Maddow.
How far the country is going to let them go without pushback, without protest. And part of this is because it's just psychologically advantageous for them to do this now, right? They're counting on the half the country that voted against them, the half the country that doesn't want to give up our system of government. They're counting on all those tens of millions of Americans to be despondent, to feel powerless, to check out, which of course would mean letting them do what they want, letting them run the table. What they really don't want is for the half the country that voted against them, the half the country that wants to keep our democracy. What they really don't want is for those tens of millions of Americans to wake up tomorrow feeling scrappy as hell.
And so, so Rachel's riling up the Dems who lost. And I play this clip just to say that the mainstream media, whether you're talking about The Atlantic, Time, Washington Post, Vanity Fair, really any of them, they exert an absolutely mind-bogglingly massive amount of power through their number, their size, their infiltration into other businesses, their cultural hold over most institutions of higher learning. It's possible the Phil Waldrons of the world organized with ex-military using the expertise of 4th POG, a cooperation involving other battalions under USSCOM, U.S. Special Operations Command. Is it possible think tank-like organizations such as Narrative Strategies selected key influencers such as General Mike Flynn to head the messaging campaign to expand the 17, all to drum up enough fear to motivate the average American to overcome the very extreme psychological manipulation towards the left brought to us by New York Times, among others, and thus Donald Trump's return to power be a success. And I wonder, have I, with my video, What's Next in Queue, all evidence of military special ops protecting President Trump, CIC, was I an unwitting participant? Are many small accounts looked at to determine potential to carry forth a persuasive narrative to counter the endless propaganda of the MSM, propaganda wars, counter-propaganda? Due to the endless migration, the political makeup of our country, the United States, was really at the precipice with this election, so all stops had to be put forward to save things. Even if the truth is stretched via major mouthpieces such as Alex Jones or Tucker Carlson, maybe those prevarications were deemed essential for the sake of preserving national security. Think about the mind rot of TikTok, the country's source of this platform. Could it be that a foreign nation used this platform to steer the youth towards the left and towards behaviors that are inimical to the survival of the people? creating confusion over the most basic concepts in order to limit our nation's reproduction. This is another question of, do the ends justify the means? Yes, all these thoughts brought up with me just from considering how this account used Grok to interpret information given to me by a supposed security-cleared White Hat patriot. Fascinating information has been shared with me by several patriots. I am doubtful that the information was shared just to get me to produce pro-Trump content to prevent a socialist downfall of America, given that my account is so small. I've not benefited these individuals financially in any way that I'm aware of, so I'm left with the belief that there is indeed a curtain separating entire universes of revelation concerning the way things actually work in this plane. These security-cleared individuals, in a sense, become apotheosized as their capabilities are beyond what those of us in the civilian world can really comprehend. Are some civilians tested? Are these tests beyond the loyalty checks of fraternities such as the Masons? Are there levels to this Cicada 3301? I don't know, but I've seen enough to hint at more than just counter-propaganda. If you watched this long, I will now share the rest of the audio from which this screenshot is derived. Stay sane out there. There are many hidden realities.
What I believe is helpful to people with PK distress is understanding the projects behind it. Now, this may be something not widely accepted, but it's research funded and still continues. The Grill Flame project came out of the DoD back in the 80s. It wasn't originally meant to expand into parapsychology, but too many things happened that pushed it into that direction. So it became a multi-million-dollar funded project that was only meant to last 5 years. It focuses on biophysical, neurophysiology, psychological, and so on. So these applicants are held under close control compartments by U.S. Army, Air Force, and Naval laboratories, along with contracted divisions of universities out of Switzerland and the U.S. So at first, the security efforts were astronomical compared to what they are now, but it wasn't as free range, and subjects lived under lock and key. So central management was the USDRE, and it's Assistant Vice Director for ICT Intelligence. So the DoD oversees human resources and procurement, to this very day. But RD Intelligence kept everything in the dark. So the task review team, the executive review board, and the central management maintain the application and research efforts at in-house facilities that are scattered in 7 countries. So the basic research evaluated electromagnetic transmission models. So the experiments developed, cater to electromagnetic, quantum mechanic, and other physical theories that are displayed as explanatory models. The theory was that a form of electromagnetic frequencies were generated by the central nervous system interacting with material matter, but I believe it's communicated DNA entangling with electrons that allow action potential in the brain. So for the fiscal year in '88, the funding stood at $11.5 million, but currently it stands at $27 million. So to determine the applicant process, you need to look at personality traits, pattern recognition abilities, visualization, time estimating patterns, and so on and so on. But unlike the SNF in China Lake, most facilities are named without an FOIA. So personal data is gathered from calibrated remote viewers with the extended Wechsler test. So this involves SRI and client pools. So your consciousness and biometrics is gathered by multiple sources. So that's how information becomes so accurate. It's placed in a personal assessment system we call the PAT, but its formal category is PAS. Those are the files you hear Jay talk about so much. Those are fed into the BAS that the AI uses to interact with the targeted individual. So that's how Elon communicates with other PATs. That's how targeted individuals relive fears and traumas in dreams. The personal files consist of people with IV phenomena who describe the state of consciousness as astral projection.